Boys and girls, welcome back to the channel. Glad to have you guys here. Welcome everybody. If you guys don't know who I am, of course, I am the self-proclaimed FTP god. I did FTP to T5 in 182 days. We are out here with a new video about transitioning to SOC. In this video, we're going to cover how many marches you should run, your minimum gear requirements, your ideal marches, your minimum commander investment requirements, what you should be looking for kills and deaths, and the resources and speeds required to get those kills and deaths if you're going as good as possible. As you guys may know, as you can tell by the where is it, right there, the little coaching thing I have, I've been doing a lot of coaching lately. Now, of all the clients that I've coached, I get a few similar questions and I get a pretty good idea of the people who are in the biggest need of help. And those people are generally people who are transitioning to Season of Conquest. Now, granted, most people that buy my coaching are not FTP. They're mostly whales, but I am FTP and I transitioned. And I did, I think, 522 million KP on my first season of Conquest KVK. If you guys were there, you already know what's up. So I've got a pretty good leg to stand on when I can tell you how to play as an FTP and just how to play as a player when you transition. The most important thing that we're going to have to do here is we're going to have to get rid of, number one, some bad habits. There are some commanders from pre-season of Conquest that are just not going to be useful as soon as you transition. Like, not at all, not even kind of. And people are just so desperate to hold on to their Charles Martels, their Richards, their Alexes. They are so desperate to make these commanders work. They're not terrible necessarily, but in your first season of Conquest, your transition in, you have to have a different mind about things because you don't have all the armaments, you don't have all the resources, you don't have all the speeds that all these older players go into. You're broke! So for example, my first season of Conquest, we're in 2500. We're against Kingdom 1069. They were huge. They were great fighters, and they put a lot of pedal to the metal, let's say. And we struggled greatly with that. I struggled for sure, right? And I've got good gear. I've got the commanders I was looking for, but I don't have the resource reserves. I don't have the speed up reserves. I don't have the just natural VIP. And for you guys that are just starting, all of us older kingdoms are going to have many more armaments than younger kingdoms coming out. The later this video is, the more rough the transition is going to be for you guys. So now let's start. How did I go into one of the oldest kingdoms in the game as one of the newest kingdoms in the game and come out very hot? I did, 522 mil KP, which was the equivalent of 30 million Crusader kills, which is the max achievements you can get. And I did about 1.3 million T5 deads, FTP. So if you are running marches, if you're coming to Season of Conquest, you should probably be running one march. The average player will probably be able to get one expertise commander before the start of Season of Conquest. That commander should be YSG. So you should have Sun Tzu YSG by the time you get to Season of Conquest. Now, how many marches you run is completely determined on how much gear you have. In terms of the commanders, you can have invest in some commanders and still have them work. Your gear is like the end-all be-all of everything, and now with armaments coming out, your armaments are probably also going to play a large factor. I think armaments are probably going to play less of a factor since, honestly, if you get lucky with a few armaments, even if you have to run Echelon instead of Wedge, or if you have to run, is it triple line for the movement speed, triple line instead of Wedge, or something like that, like, these are the Wedge, Hollow Square, Echelon, these are all micro optimizations, like the 5% skill damage. It's the actual stats within them, right? If you're getting like plus 20% stats from your armaments, it doesn't matter if it's going to be Wedge or Hollow Square, you're going to be getting 20% stats, and that's really what's important. But gear, on the other hand, is much more linear. Armaments, you'll eventually get some hits, and you'll eventually be okay. Inscriptions are going to play kind of an issue later, but obviously, all of that is very new on the creation of this video. So there will probably be a armament and inscription video that I'll make later on. But minimum gear requirements. So the first thing we're going to go through is what I suggest to my clients, what they should have for the absolute bare minimum for running a march in the open field. If you are running archers, you can run every single piece of archer gear there is purple, except for the chest. For the chest, you'd want either Milky Way or Dragon's Breath. Personally, I'm a big proponent of running Dragon's Breath. However, I also have a Milky Way.